Howdy, it's Matt and welcome to this special episode which is the Maiden of the C1 Chaser. Now, if you'd like the short version, it flew brilliantly. If you'd like to know the slightly longer version, then do hang around because we do have the Maiden Flight of the C1 Chaser in this episode. Also, we have a second part which is on board with her, so you'll see that little Velcro strip just there. I put the run cam on board with her, and I not only got one flight on with a 3S battery, I also got a second flight on with a 4S battery. And I can tell you, on 3S, it was good fun. On 4S, absolutely brilliant. Now, before we go any further, I just wanted to share something which I found, and I want you to look out for this specifically in the Maiden video, which is that launching her like a normal wing or even a Phantom is that I was eyeing up underneath here, and I was really uncomfortable in throwing this model using the traditional manner of hands underneath and then throwing it into the sky. So instead, I elected to hold her up right up here on the cord and then launch her like that. Let me just get this model put down a second for you. Right. Also, I would like to make no apologies for flying quite high during her maiden. And also, and again, there's one thing getting great video footage, and I've got some fantastic video footage of her actually being on board with her. And you can see if there's any waggle and, well, just feel the experience of flying on board with the C1 Chaser. But my point which I'd like to make is that no apologies for flying this model high and at quite a distance away from me, because I'd like to make the point here, straightforward safety. We've only seen one, maybe two videos of this model flying on YouTube. So it was a bit of an unknown. I didn't know if she was going to be tail heavy. I didn't know about surface movement. I didn't know about the battery, the motor, the propeller, and the ESC combo. And I'd like for you to take away from this episode is, yes, you can't see much of the model during this episode, but please do take away that when you're maidening a model, that is not the time for you to be caning the nuts off it. In short, what you want to be doing is get her in the air and then just fly around, get used to her, see what needs to be trimmed. And I did need to put a little bit of up trim in her and a little bit of left, I think. I can't remember exactly. But just get her up high and then just get a feel for the model. And what you will notice during this episode is the epic glide on it. It reeks. And you'll see when I launch her on a side launch, she does the telltale dip, like I pointed out in a previous episode. She does that dip as you launch her, but no way as bad as the Wing Z84. And the Phantom does it as well. So yeah, it's like that happy medium between like the Wing Z84 and the Phantom, because the Phantom does also do a little duck as well, but that one perfectly manageable. And the glide on it, epic. It just glides forever, and that's why I've got into the part 2 of this little mini series to do with her maiden. Look out for the glide. When I've got her on 4S and we've got a little bit of punch, like a lot of punch to keep us going, the glide is just bonkers. So with that said, let's go and join myself over on the flight line and look out for the things which I do. I check well, you probably didn't see me beforehand. I made sure that everything was secured. Then I made sure all the surfaces moved the way which I expect them to do twice. I'd already asked Craig and Dave just to check the movements with me. I have no shame in asking other pilots just for, especially on a maiden, on a model which I actually really kind of like, is that there's no embarrassment in there. In fact, you're actually doing them a favour. You're going to make them look like the experts. So if you've got other pilots up at your flying club or flying with your mates, and you've got a brand new model to maiden, ask them the question, can you just check these movements with me? Because there's nothing worse like spending like an hour and a half or more making a model and then you stuffing it in just because you didn't just double check everything. So with that said, let's get across to the flight line, look out for those points, and again, no apologies for not bringing her in super close and things like that, because it would just be irresponsible, not only to my own safety, but to those around me as well. So anyway, fantastic maiden, brilliant day, and like I said, in part 2 of this series to do with a maiden, I've got some onboard footage with the C1 Chaser. I will leave the audio level quite high in that episode, and on 4S, well, it's just bonkers. So with that said, let's really get ourselves across the flight line now. And from myself, Matt, thank you ever so much for taking the time to watch this episode, and I hope that you can enjoy this maiden experience as well. Cheerios. Off the C1 Chaser. Dave's laughing already. Right, let's get her on. Right, throttle off. Half rates. I did my hair especially. Nice clicks. Right, up, down, right, left, up, down, right, left. I'm going a bit careful of that prop, because that thing, I might. Right. Right. I am a bit worried about that prop. Hand biting. Right, do that. Right. Here we go. And we're away. Tracking nicely. Needs a bit of right trim. Roll, lovely. Don't say that, I haven't tried landing it yet. Look how fucking long the glide is. Oh, I'll have to bleep that bit out. No, 2,200 on a glide. Look how long she's gliding for. Right. Bring her round. Yeah, look at that glide. Maybe a bit too steep in the turn, but I'm still only gliding. She's not doing anything dirty. Yeah. Still gliding. Yeah, I got the brake on. Dual turn. Lovely. Getting lift then. Yeah. Still gliding. Right, coming in for a landing, Jen. Yeah. Right. Aborting. Yeah.
You've got a switch.
Well, I'd rather power out. Look how far I'm going to have to bring it back in. Yeah, that's alright. Landed. Oh. Well, that was nice and uneventful, wasn't it? Loads of power, and that was only 3S. Brilliant. pick the grass off her. So there you go, that's the Maiden of the C1 Chaser. Did you see how far she glides? That's just like a big wing. That's exactly what I expected. And that is happy days. So then, ladies and gents, that is what I would call a successful Maiden. Completely uneventful. I did find that I needed to switch up onto high rates, and there was actually some comments from Craig and Dave on the flight line about my throttle action being either on or off. It's just the way I fly. Hey, look, this channel's called Rag the Nuts Off. You know where it's going. So, thank you ever so much for joining me for this Maiden on the C1 Chaser. I'll put a link to this model in the video description for you. If you've got any questions about her, please just ask in the comments section underneath this episode over here on YouTube. And yeah, part 2 is going to be on board with her on 3S. So I've got the run cam on board, and you can actually experience what she flies like firsthand. And then part 3, that's special because that is 4S and that is nuts. So for myself, Matt, thank you ever so much for taking the time to watch this episode. If you've enjoyed it, if you've learnt some tips about Maiden in a model, do me a favour, press the like button underneath this episode. And like I said, any questions, please just ask. So with that said, from myself, Matt, cheerios.